2 to Dowdell Daniel.
This is Robbie Eagles.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
Hi, this is Mimic. This is 5 times the world's heavyweight champion, the Scrap Daddy himself, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce.
This is Brian Alvarez, and you are listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Welcome to the show, folks. My name is Josh Armour, and thanks very much for downloading Wrestle Radio Australia. This is our first episode.
Oh, yeah! G'day, this is Big Brody Marshall.
This is Brian Alvarez.
This is Dean Brady of the Millennials.
This is Jurassic Punk Sid Parker.
How many of you guys have heard the term kayfabe?
Hello, doggers. This is Jay Hunter from OSW Review.
This is Matt Grim Basso.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
This is Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, and you are locked in
to Wrestle Radio Australia.
I in the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, turn like Hunter muscle. If you sell a lot of tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the venue, best to get in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you wait down with that, then I got 2 words for you, suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, hold another cup. Let's be busy, 23, got me feeling way too sweet.
I was trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and it was just awful.
I've turned chicken salad into chicken shit. I will continue to do so.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit. And you
This is Bianca Belair.
Hey, this is Kevin Owens.
Hey, it's Seth freaking Rollins.
It is the man, Becky Lynch.
It's Rhea Ripley here, and you're listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. I am your host, Lachlan Albert, and I am joined by the last podcast host standing, Todd Eastman. Todd, it's good to see you, mate.
It is good to see you too, my friend. How are we? Are we good?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks. And we're also joined this week by the podcasting premiership winner, Jamie Apps. Jamie, good to see you, mate.
You too. It's been a while.
It's always a pleasure to have you back on board here on Making Chicken Salad, and we have a massive show tonight because we are not only previewing a big WrestleMania weekend that's starting in just a couple of days, but also we're talking about one of the biggest Aussie shows that's been on in a little while, PWA's CHEVS versus Troy, one of the big, every so often Pro Wrestling Australia puts on one of these big shows with the PWA title on the line. So that's always an exciting thing to happen. So if you watched that show, if you didn't watch that show and you want to talk about what you think might have happened, if you want to talk about your Mania predictions, if you want to talk anything about wrestling, the place to do it is right here at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia on a Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, or you can join us on Facebook, you can join us on YouTube, any of those places you can be part of the conversation. So come along and do that. But we've got to get started because this is going to be such a stacked show. Talking about CHEVS versus Troy, you can catch it on YouTube for free. I know, take a drink, Matt in the chat's going to say, and Jamie goes for it. Free on YouTube, get amongst it. PWA does a great job of live streaming these shows directly to YouTube, so you can catch everything as it was showcased live there. Yeah, thanks, Matty Huss in the chat with the little drink emoji there. Make sure you check it out because, as we've said, PWA has a few of these showcase shows every year, a few of these top-end shows. And the fact that they're for free on YouTube Live is incredible. I know, Todd, you were live tweeting, zeeting, whatever it is, as this show was going on.
Yes, I was. I kind of stopped halfway through because I realized that Gale had a little bit on his hands, so he wasn't really responding that much to what was going on. So I was like, okay.
One of the first things I wanted to say going into this show is massive credit to Gale for doing a lot of work here on commentary without Rose, and a huge shout out to Diego for doing that double duty of ring announcing and commentary, or as I like to call it, the voice killer. It is absolutely brutal to do that much talking in one night. So big credit to him. And he did quite a good job on commentary, I've got to say, considering that. But it also shows that when Rose did show up partway through the main event, he is just absolutely world class and dropped in there and just showed how damn good he is. And that chemistry that he's got with Rose is just exceptional. I am always so impressed by the PWA commentary team, letting everyone know what's going on in terms of the stories, commenting on the matches while being entertaining. The PWA commentary team is just always world class, and PWA production is typically fantastic.
Yeah, you really notice how much, well, I did anyway, how much Rose adds when he came in to the show. Because it was just like he adds just a level of excitement that the other guys don't seem to have, don't seem to be able to add. So it was, that was a highlight for me, to be honest with you. When he came on, I was like, oh, now it feels like a PWA show.
Yeah. And that's not to downplay anything else that was going on, because, Diego and Gail were doing just about as good a job as any commentary team in the country. And then Rose shows up and it just goes to another level. Just incredible stuff. But to kick off this show in ring, the PWA Premiership had a first round match. The PWA Premiership this year, a trios competition with the Velocities and Velkin Wild taking on Marley Paletti and PPK. Velocities and Velkin managing to get a win in this one. What did you think of this first round Premiership match, Jamie?
Super entertaining. First time I've seen Marley Paletti and Velkin Wild. I thought they were both very, very good. Wasn't a huge fan of their gear, but it's a debut match. I wasn't expecting them to come out with Velocity or Robbie Eagles level gear. So an awesome job for the role they were put in with two solid tag teams.
Yeah, Todd?
Very much. I very much agree. Velkin Wild looked like a long-haired low-key.
Yep. Yeah, he did.
And I was like...
Similar style as well.
I was like, the pose is cool. Maybe don't do it after every move or right before every move. And he'll get that because, like I said, like you said, first time we've ever really seen him. I don't know how much experience he's actually had doing matches and doing live matches like that. So sometimes you do spam the old taunt button. So
yeah,
and he'll get it. He'll get it when he works.
Andy of Bob Backlund Fridges says, this premiership is quite strange if it's just going to be tag teams with a random third. I think they've done a clever job of, when they had the couple of tag teams and a random third, putting them in their own little corner of the bracket so that the more traditional trios in the form of, the Third Eye or what's the other team that's MK plus Ultra. That's them. The more traditional trios teams get to go through the tournament as trios, and we just get a little bit of that tag team plus one action going on. In saying that, I don't know that the Velocities are necessarily who I would have chosen to showcase through this premiership. That was part of my predictions last week, was I said PPK feel like the team that could have more of an opportunity to show the level of improvement they've had, to show how good they're getting, to show a guy like, Marley Paletti gelling with them going forward in the tournament. Whereas I don't think the Velocities necessarily need the shine of that premiership spot. But what you do get by putting the Velocities forward is a guarantee that whoever they're having a match with, it's going to be good. Because there is no bad Velocities match. They keep the pace at a high enough level. They make everything look fluid enough that no matter who you put up against them, that team looks like they're having a good showing because it's the Velocities, right?
It's also though putting a shine on Velkin Wild.
Very true, right?
He gets a tag for those guys now on multiple occasions, so people will get a chance to see them twice and associate him with the Velocities, which isn't they're not a bad group to be associated with. When you're
great
new guys starting out.
Yeah, very true. Overall, I thought this match was a lot of fun, and I think it was a great choice to put first to open up this card. Really, really well done. Moving on then, Ben Braxton and Hari Singh going one-on-one with Ben Braxton coming out on top. Big shocker there. We've talked about how much we love Ben Braxton as kind of like a future star in terms of the PWA scene. And once again, it looks like they're seeing the appeal that Braxton has. What did you think of this match, Todd?
I was going to friggin' riot if he hadn't won. Put it that way. It was like he really. It was one of those ones where, like, sure, he does what he does in Newey Pro, and that's all good. He really needed a win here in singles competition against a decent opponent to really establish himself as, like, what I think he is anyway, and that's the next up. I think he's the next guy up, especially now that Chevs is the champion and he's lost to her a couple of times. That's perfect to tell the story.
Yep. Yeah, coming up absolutely. Now. Jamie?
So I'm normally a big fan of Braxton as well. I'm kind of critical of this match though. The start of it, some of those lockups were a little bit not the best looking. Kind of, they pulled me out of it. I expected them to be really strong and they weren't. And also, like, at what point does Braxton get a dominant win over someone? Like, we've only really seen, we've seen here, 2 or 3 times in PWA, and it's mainly been in, like, multi-mans or tags and stuff. And then Braxton
very, like,
struggles against
AEW type. Some very, like, AEW type booking, isn't it? Where no one really gets a strong win unless they're, like, unnamed, not getting it, or named but not getting an entrance type guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, to see Braxton sort of really struggle to get the victory in this, I was like, I know Braxton is winning, but I would have liked to see him get, like, this big dominant win to kick off that momentum and get him rolling into, he can then have a few more competitive matches to get to Chelsea.
Also, I like the Anaconda Vice as a finisher. Maybe just not. I think that should be a finisher when the other one fails.
Yep.
Like, he's a guy that does a beautiful swanton. Let the guy do the swanton. I don't
disagree with that.
There's a big absolute monster who can fly through the air. Why are you giving him a ground-based finish?
Yeah, the swanton, the lion salt.
I agree with what Jamie's saying about, getting a strong victory. It feels like this was the kind of match that Braxton could have got a win in against a guy like Jack J. Bonza, right? Like, if there was someone who was a bit more established in the company, someone with, a singles, or even like Backman, right? Somebody who's really established as a force in the company, then seeing him struggle to get the win would make sense. Against Hari Singh, I'm not sure that level of struggle comes across. And that's just, at some point wins and losses have to matter. And Hari Singh is not a guy with a particularly great win-loss record in PWA. So I don't know that it gives Ben Braxton the credit or the momentum, I guess, for getting the win here.
I suppose it is hard though when you're like an indie promotion. It's kind of hard to have jobbers. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd say jobbers in the most respectful sense. Like, guys that'll just come in and do the job for the guy because they're there all the time. It's not like they're traveling show and this guy's just from the area and we're going to put him in and you'll never see him again. Like, Hari still has to come back every week at PWA on local shows and all that. So you kind of have to give them. I can understand it. I just,
Yeah, and Alex Fireheart's exactly right. Short of trainees getting a look in randomly, it's definitely an interesting problem that PWA have there in terms of giving guys like Ben Braxton momentum. But talking about momentum, moving on, a over-the-top rope challenge match with the winner getting the number 30 spot in the 2025 PWA Rumble. This one had Aaron Jake, Big Fudge, Kai Drake, Jack J. Bonza, Tony Sin, and Xander Sullivan. The winner of this one being Jack J. Bonza. Like, talk about someone who is established and showing that they deserve to be in that spot. I thought it was really interesting to have Tony Sin be the last guy in this challenge match because I was under the impression that both him and Bonza were heels. Bonza's definitely acting like a heel and has traditionally been a heel. You've got a match that had only a couple of baby faces in the form of Big Fudge and Kai Drake, and then a fairly long section at the end had Bonza and Singh going at it, and I feel like, you know, that would have worked better either with Sin being, you know, back and forth with Fudge or Drake, or Bonza being back and forth with Fudge or Drake. I'm not sure that the two matching up there was exactly the right call, but at the same time, it did give Tony Sin a good showing. Like we were saying, it gets one of those other guys who is not always at the top of the card getting a good showing against an experienced guy. Jamie, what did you think of the choice to have Bonza win and go to number 30 in the Rumble?
I'm not a huge fan of that. I feel like Bonza was established. You could put him in the middle of the Rumble. He doesn't need that 30th spot to sort of give you that bit of hope. I think Kai Drake was the guy. If you put Kai Drake at 30, you think maybe Kai's winning the Rumble, but nope. Or Aaron Jake as well was the other choice. I think me and Todd both spoke about it during the show, and it was like, when Bonza won, we both just went, oh, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, especially in my mind, sorry to interrupt, Todd, but from a booking perspective, and Todd, you'll have more insight than me on this, Jack Bonza feels like the kind of guy who is able to general a pretty chaotic match like a 30-person Rumble. He feels like a guy you want to have in at the number 10 or 15 or 20 spot, so that when you've got other people coming in, he's able to help direct traffic and run that match.
Yeah. I like. I'll be honest. I'm not gonna beat her. I fucking hated that. I hated that he won that. There's no reason for Jane Bonza to be the 30th entrant in that over the top rope battle. Like, Kai Drake might have been a good choice, except they're already going in that direction the next show. Like,
yeah, he got the title match the next show.
Yeah, Chevs and Drake are the title match on the next show, so didn't really need it at the end of the day. Aaron Jake would have been perfect for that fucking role. Absolutely perfect for that role. Like, Bonza gets nothing out of being the 30th entrant. Nothing out of it. Like, he can lose, he can win. People, it's not really going to matter because he's a made guy. Like, he is dyed in the wool PWA. He's part of the furniture there. Guys like Aaron Jake, like Kai Drake, even Xander. I know why Xander and Kai didn't win, mainly because Kai had the thing, but Xander's also going to be going further in that trios tournament. So
as is Kai Drake as part of, you know, MK Plus Ultra. So they wanted to have those two going at it to advance the premiership.
Yeah, I expect that sort of thing. But like,
just imagine the promos that Aaron Jake would have been cutting if he was the 30th man in the Rumble for the next 2 months.
1,000%. I honestly do not. I rack my brains to think, why is Bonza in that position? Why, like Alex Flahart says, sorry. Curious if the idea is just tricking people into thinking Bonza is going to win. He gets thrown out last by somebody. Do you know what, though? No one cares if Bonza wins it. I hate to break it to you, but no one really cares if he wins that Rumble. No one's going to care. Like, people are going to be a lot more interested in like an Aaron Jake possibly winning that Rumble, or like a Kai Drake maybe getting that second chance, because he probably gets screwed out of this next match. Let's face it. It's probably what's going to happen. So like that's sort of a deal that I just don't, I feel that was a massive waste of a great opportunity to, again, raise somebody's like profile in PWA. And I feel like they do that a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like if Bonza wins the Rumble, you get the Charlotte winning the Rumble reaction. Everyone just goes, of course.
Yeah. And Keanu said exactly that about this match. Being there live, I feel like Bonza winning kind of took the win out of the crowd too, says Keanu in the chat. So.
Yeah, because it would have just been, oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
John Cena won again.
Yep. Yeah. That's kind of it. So, look, and that's nothing against the match, and I think everyone in the match did a really good job, but I really questioned Bonza winning this one. It didn't track for me. But moving on to a PWA tag team title match with the Backslide Girls, Kingsley and Shay Cassidy, accompanied by Everett Connors, managing to retain their titles over the regime of Backman and Ricky South. And again, the decision of winner in this one confused me a bit. I know that we've got Kingsley going off to Canada, so Shay and Everett will be the Backslide Girls for the foreseeable future while Kingsley's away. And on the other side, Regime feel like exactly the kind of team who need those titles to be, you know, the kind of characters they are. You want to give legitimacy to these jerks that are, you know, trying to run the whole company. I guess that there is a logic to you don't want all of your champs to be heels, and at the moment, even Robbie Eagles with the belt is being a bit of a jerk. So there's a sense of you want a little bit of variety there, but I feel like Regime are the perfect team to be holding these tag titles right now. In saying that, I think Backslide Girls' performance here was really enjoyable. I think the choice to have Kingsley sing the original Gloria Gaynor cover was a really good way to get the crowd on their side very quickly. And I thought, you know, we talked recently about how damn good Shay Cassidy has been. And in that match against Erica Reed, where she absolutely showed out, and she was just as good here. And I think, you know, it showed off the parts of Kingsley's character that have really transferred over through Cassidy. You can see what she's learned there. I thought that they performed quite well. I think they had, you know, a clever way for Everett Connors to get involved and help them get the win. But it did seem like a bit of a heelish way to retain the titles for a team that's clearly a babyface team, but with a gimmick that seems to be kind of a heel. I'm just kind of confused by it, despite the mechanics of the match being really, really good. Todd?
Yeah, again, I hated this.
Weird decisions. All right.
Why wouldn't you put the Regime over strong and then have the Backslide Girls having to chase now, having to come back and earn that title back? Like, and it's an easy story to tell because, I mean, Kingsley and Shay Cassidy probably weigh as much as Backman.
Yep.
Like, the two of them together probably weigh as much as that dude. Like, you have those guys. Like, it's the same thing with what they could have done back in the day with back pain, and they never did. They never pulled the trigger on it. And not only that, like you mentioned too, Lachlan, they cheated to win as well. Which I understand. Two big guys, you're going to have to do it, but you're not supposed to do that when you're the baby faces. Yeah, that's what I didn't like about it. I think Backman and Ricky South would be great PWA tag team champions because they could be that mean bully team that just bullies around every challenger until the Backslide Girls get their chance back, and then they pull out a fluke victory. Yeah, that to me is a better story than the Backslide Girls win again. Like they got their win about beating these two absolute monsters. How'd they do it? Did they get a small? Well, no, like Everett kind of snuck in the ring and super kicked someone, so that's how they got their win. Oh, so they kind of cheated. Oh yeah, but they're baby faces, so it's okay. Everyone likes them. Like I don't. Yeah, I feel like they kind of take liberties with. They're just going to like them anyway. We can have them cheat and it'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I
Jamie?
mean?
I'm the same. I was not expecting it to go this way. My one hope coming out of this match is that with that entrance where Kingsley sung the Ricky South theme song, I hope that's like an impetus for them to change that song because that does not fit that tag team at all anymore. Like they need something fresh and intimidating and not upbeat and uplifting like that. So hopefully that's them being like, oh no, they're going to sing our song, so we're not going to use that anymore.
Yeah. I have noticed something happening just with Ricky South that I want to talk about, and it's the prevailing narrative now that Ricky South is stinky. Honestly, this is a conversation that's happening a fair bit, and I am truly wondering if he has made the choice as a heel to not wear deodorant so that as a bad guy, he physically stinks. Like, because as far as I know, This was never something that was mentioned when he was on his very long face run. And then as he's become the example and become a pure heel, people are talking about the fact that he comes out near the crowd and he smells bad. I genuinely think that might be one of the wildest heel moves I've ever heard. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Maybe he's just going through something, and now you're putting it out there on Front Street.
Yeah, there you go. Moving on, though, more championships.
Never had an issue.
More championships on the line. It was a Soul of PWA title match, Robbie Eagles versus Jimmy Townsend. Jimmy feeling like he wasn't getting respect from Robbie here. Robbie clearly not giving respect to the Thief until the end of this match after a win by Robbie Eagles to retain the title, and he gives that handshake to Jimmy. Quickly, I will read out what Matty Huss has said in the chat, saying, I love the Backslide Girls, but also think the Regime should have won. But at the same time, I also think Regime and Chevs North Shore would be too much concurrently as champs. I don't know what to think. Yeah, absolutely, Matt. But yeah, this Solar PWA title match was a pretty extensive back and forth. 18 minutes it ran, and Robbie Eagles getting the win here. You know, there's never a bad Robbie Eagles match, and Jimmy pulled out a lot of interesting little things in this one, including, you know, hitting the finishes of Madison Eagles and, you know, getting the Ron Miller special on. So definitely some shout outs to that Thief character. Todd, how did you feel this Soul of PWA title match went?
I really, really enjoyed this match. I like literally the only question I had, I think I posed this to Jamie, like, who's the next challenger now? Because like Robbie's wiped everyone out you would think as a logical challenger to the guy. Like I don't even like, I know that this sounds sort of, I don't know if it sounds bad or not. Like I don't even think that Kai Drake should win the heavyweight title. I think Kai Drake would be perfect to be the guy that beats Robbie Eagles for that Soul of PWA title. I think that's like, you say like Tuckman, like Keanu says Tuckman, he's kind of moved off into tags. I don't see him as a, like, I think they're quite happy doing their dance at the moment. They don't really, like, Tuckman to me has moved out of that.
Can I just mention while we're talking about Tuckman, the shape that guy is in is otherworldly.
That both of those guys.
Yeah, it's the biz diet. Yeah, a lot of the Aussie wrestlers now you'll see have the old biz diet going on. So there's a lot of ripness going on at the moment in Australian wrestling, just through people joining up with that body biz thing. Does Robbie have to lose? No, he doesn't have to lose it anytime soon. He doesn't. You're 100% right. And I think they like the fact that he gets to take it over to New Japan and actually take it out in front of crowds. So, like, that's why I think I said on the last show when we were talking about previewing the show, I don't think Robbie's going to lose because I think they're going to want Robbie to take it over for the tournament, the Super Juniors tournament. So that made perfect sense to me why he didn't. It's just, like, I would have thought that Jimmy was the perfect guy as well. And now Jimmy's lost it, so I'm like, well, I don't know who it's going to be now. Like, Kai could be great. I think it's way too early for Marley, as like Keanu Reeves is way too early for Marley. I think, and I kind of think they made that mistake kind of before with putting it on Tuckman so early. Yeah, they put it on him so early, and then they had to put him with really, really good workers to help, like him. So, like someone like Kai, I think Kai has worked his ass off for years in PWA and could really hold, like, Kai's a guy that could carry a not as good worker to a really good match as well, which is something that Robbie does, something that I'm sure Charlie can do. Like all these guys, like Ricky South can do it asleep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a good quality of a good champion, is that they can carry anyone to a decent match. And I think Kai is one of those guys that could possibly do that. I couldn't say the same for Tuckman. I could probably say the same for Jimmy, because Jimmy's been around since day dot as well, like part of the prefects, and then moving off and then training with sort of like getting the Moretti psychology. Yeah, I love this match though. I thought it was really, really good. A great send off for Robbie going over to Japan. Put it that way.
Yeah, I thought this match was bloody brilliant. I will say my prediction of like who can take it off Robbie. My hopeful predictions would be either Kai Drake or Big Fudge, who I think has that, connection with the crowd and him having a serious turn. We saw the start of that against Ricky. That could be the opportunity for him to go, I'm a real wrestler, and beat Robbie. My concern of a realistic prediction is that this is how they keep the Super Troy going and have Jess come in and be the unbeatable champ of this belt straight after losing the main belt. That's, I guess, a bit of a worry that I have, despite, loving Jess's work, and we'll talk about that soon. But yeah, this match is just, we rave about Robbie all the time, and we've said, basically nothing but good things about Jimmy for years now. This was never going to be bad, and I think it really reached those high expectations. Jamie?
Yeah, for me, this is the match to watch this show for. It's fantastic, as expected. I scrolled through the roster page. I don't know who you put up next. Maybe you get a Matt Diamond back for a one-off. Like, get those two.
Do you
back
bring someone in? Do you bring someone in from somewhere else?
Yeah, like
Possibly.
a Robbie Thorpe
Just
or someone Queensland.
Yeah.
Like
the beauty of it is with like Robbie, because he's gone a lot, he doesn't really have to defend it a hell of a lot. So you can do a lot of stuff where you're building somebody to that next spot. Like, that's why Jimmy was so good, because he could talk the feud without Robbie being there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those promos he was cutting going into that match were great.
They're fantastic.
You would think they'd have been feuding for 6 months, the way he'd been talking about it, because he had everything. Like, he had the story going into it. Like, you're mad because I chose like Grayson Waller over you, and then you're mad because blah blah, and then you're mad because I beat Mick, and you're mad because of this, and you're mad. Like, he had the story going through, and such a good like storyteller when it comes to being behind the mic and selling the match. That they kind of need someone like that as well. When you haven't got Robbie there all the time, you kind of need someone that can talk people into the building without them actually having physical interaction, if that makes sense.
I almost feel
Fudge
like
too. Fudge or Aaron Jake would be two good calls as well, with that idea of being able to talk the match.
Aaron Jake would be great for that. You're right. Aaron Jake would be great for that, because Robbie can switch between babyface and heel like seamlessly, especially that crowd. That crowd will either cheer him or boo him depending on how he wants them to do it.
Yeah. I think that coming out of the Prefects, Billy Preston was kind of seen as the guy who was more complete, and Jimmy almost needed a little more time. I think that Jimmy has really, really taken all of the learning that he's been offered and put it together in a way that is absolutely showing out. And in a couple of years' time, Jimmy Townsend's going to be one of those guys, like a Jessica Troy that we talk about. They are just the entire package, absolutely putting it together at every level. Like, I think it is worth celebrating. Obviously, Robbie Eagles is bloody incredible and nailed his part of this match, but Jimmy is really holding up his end of the bargain as well, and that is absolutely worth celebrating. Let's move on to the main event now. The match that this event was named for, Chevs versus Troy. Charlie Evans, Jessica Troy, last wrestler standing for the PWA heavyweight title. This match went for 40 minutes. It had interference from North Shore Wrestling to back up Chevs, had interference from the dropouts to back up Jess and counteract that interference. It went long, and Keanu Reeves says, I realized why I hate last man standing matches, right? Bloody DJ in the chat says, Chevs versus Troy was insane. The satellite DDT in the first 2 minutes shook my house through the video. I think that a lot of this match was really good, but when you've got a match that goes 40 minutes, it's easy to have things that take from the match that can affect how it feels overall. And there were a couple of things. First off, we've got to talk about the finish, the fact that there was interference from an as yet unnamed and unknown wrestler who came in that
they named him.
Yeah, has since been revealed as Jack Osborne, presumably the younger brother of Sam Osborne. Definitely family of Sam Osborne, but Jack Osborne is now part of North Shore Wrestling, and
they
ensured the victory for CHEVS.
They explained all that in a promo afterwards that went up on PWA's Insta, I think.
So
it's little brother.
Yes, there is that element of, obviously there was a lot of interference, but then to have that extra kind of unknown interference at the end took some of the momentum out of it. I'll say Andy at Bob Ackland Fridges says, I really liked the match. The interference made sense. The chair backbreaker was gruesome, but I hated that we didn't know who Jack Osborne was, and I hated that after an 18-month reign, Jess became an immediate afterthought. I'll say something that really took me out of the match was when the Colosseum sword was introduced, because there's an amount that I can suspend my disbelief in wrestling, but when a sword gets introduced, I know that nobody's arm is going to get chopped off in the course of a PWA heavyweight title match. That's just not going to happen. So
another promotion, maybe, but
so it takes me from being engrossed in this match to watching the mechanics of the match play out and thinking, how are they going to make this believable without anyone getting sliced with a sword? So that just took me out of it, and I would rather the sword didn't come into play at all, and they found another way to get blood out of both competitors. I found so many parts of this really, really excellent. A few storytelling moments in this I thought were absolutely excellent. I think the fact that neither of the women would let the other woman stay down for a 10 count if they were showing that life and resistance. So right near the end, CHEVS looks like she's down for a 10, but starts flipping the bird to Jess, and Jess picks her up and just keeps beating, because you've got that background of the whole problem that CHEVS has is that Troy couldn't fully beat her. She needed to resort to a roll-up. And she knew that if CHEVS was still able to give her that finger, CHEVS would have the argument of, you didn't fully beat me, I was still alive. And so she needed to, put that out. And I really like that element of storytelling. There was a lot of that stuff going on here. And, like we said, the fact that CHEVS got put through the top half of a chair, but not the bottom half, and just bent it on its, insanity. And these two are both such good wrestlers, but when you've got a 40-minute match where a lot of time is spent waiting for people to not stand up for a count of 8, it can feel like it's dragging, and those few downer moments feel like they get really drawn out in what I think was a really good match that suffered from a lot of time and a few dull moments. Todd, what do you think?
I think it went 10 minutes too long, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think it went 10 minutes too long. And I feel like a lot of promotions, I'm not going to name them, watched WrestleMania 40 and thought, we could do that. Because every big main event always seems to be like Cody and Roman. Interference, and then one interference this way, and then a bring back that way. And then they just ended it like a Roman Reigns match where they had a Solo Sikoa come out, like someone's brother came out to help them win. And they surely commentary would have known who this person was. They didn't have to play dumb. Like, they know who Sam's brother is. Like, he looks like Sam.
Yeah, I would have just like commentary to acknowledge, that's Osborne's brother. That's all they needed to do, and it would totally changed that sort of perception.
Holy shit, he's a monster. Like, you know what I mean? That's it was 100% the right call. Like, CHEVS had to win. Like, we talked about this last week.
Yeah,
CHEVS had to win this belt. Had to win it. I think Nick Galea said Jess changing her presentation up was a welcome change. 100% agree with that. I love the fact that she wasn't wearing the doilies. Like, she came out not wearing that stuff. I was like, thank God, she actually looks like a proper wrestler.
That gear was incredible because it appeared to be her crochet, but in the form of, so she had crocheted herself fucking Valkyrie gear. Like, that was incredible. And that's the great, Jess character work, and the change in song. Like, I was blown away by the entrances from both Chevs and Troy. I thought both of them were absolutely stunning. The Chevs entrance dress to me was screaming, Akira Hakuto or Manami Toyota. Like it had that very, black wedding, I loved it. And there's so many parts of this that I absolutely adore.
Yeah. I just think that they waited way too long to get the Dropouts and North Shore Wrestling involved. If they'd have gotten involved early and then fucked them off backstage, that would have been good, because then it's okay, it's just these two now. And you're not waiting the whole time for, okay, they're going to come out eventually. They always do.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd got it out the way early, and we're okay, well, shit, that's done now. So it is now just the two of them.
But even then it felt like there was the interference, and then it went away, and then it came back.
Yeah, because it was and there was one point where I think Chevs and Jess were just lying on the mat for 5 minutes while those guys had a mini match in between. And it was that's when I was okay, this is going too long. If you wanted those guys to have a match, give them a match on the show. Don't have them interrupt this 18-month title reign match, ending. This should be a monumental ending. Sure, she won by cheating in the end, but it should have been because Chevs had no other option in the end. Someone had to come out to help her, which is going to be that little bone of contention the whole time.
I did chat with Scott Green this week, and there was a reason they didn't have a match. He has back issues at the moment, so that they're kind of just trying to keep him on the show without having him have matches. So that's kind of why he hasn't been doing a huge amount apart from these sort of run-in things.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it. I was going to mention it at the top of the show. You know how last week when we talked about the EPW show, and we thought it was a really good job by Kingston, faking that knee injury. He legitimately tore his knee open in the first couple of minutes. Tore his knee apart in that first, because I got a message from Slats the next day telling me what had happened. Apparently it's from a leapfrog at the start. So it wasn't anything cool. He just did a normal leapfrog, landed, and blew his knee out. So that whole apparently that whole match from the first 2 or 3 minutes just got scrapped. So everything after the first 2 or 3 minutes of that match is just on the fly.
Wild. Let's see what the chat has to say about this match. Nick Galea says the weird thing is they tried everything they can to make Chevs hated, yet you could hear the crowd cheering her at times. Alex Fireheart says, I would have at least found it good if they'd had a different camera angle where you didn't see that the sword wasn't cutting her worth a damn. Keanu mentions hating the 10 count so much. Nick Galea says Jess changing her presentation up was a welcome change. The whole granola grappler thing was very meh. I think she would benefit greatly from doing something different character-wise. Alex Fireheart said pet peeve of mine in wrestling in general, but both did some limb work that they both completely forgot about. Why bother doing it? I do kind of disagree with that in the way that Jess is, most of her offense is based around the left arm because she's got a finisher based around that. So it always makes sense for her to do that limb-based offense, regardless of whether it comes out in the finish or not. But I agree with what you're saying in general. Matty Haas says the new WWE style of multiple dramatic interference does not lend itself to a last person standing. You need the drama of the near falls. Keanu says that they never want to see a last man standing match again. Nick Galea says it was very like it felt very heavily inspired by 80s and 90s AJW. Alex Fireheart says the interference was a bit overblown. If they'd only come out once and then fucked off, the Jack Osborne interference at the end would have probably had more of an impact. And Keanu Reviews caps it up by saying it was a good match. Pardon me. It was a good match. It just wasn't for me. I think that there was a lot of good in here.
I just had one complaint with the sword spot as well. I think it was Mick Foley, or it might have been Stone Cold, that said, if you're going to do a blood spot, don't then keep wiping the blood off your face.
Yeah.
They kept doing that, and then Jess got, her nose busted and had more blood on her face from that than Chevs had from an apparent sword slash across the top of her head. I was like, if you're going to do the blood
Which is
spot,
weird because,
keep the blood
Chevs
flowing.
kind of lives in the blood. So you think she'd be quite used to
she kept wiping it away and rubbing her face on the mat, and it just kept wiping the blood off, and then it stopped, and it was what's the point of the sword spot?
Let's talk about the post match a little bit. because, yeah, and Bloody DJ says Chevs only bled for 3 minutes. Let's talk about the post-match for a little bit, because there was a lot that I liked about the presentation of the post-match, right? So what happened was you had the Jack Osborne interference led to Chevs getting the win. Like, not directly, Chevs still got a finisher in after that, but from that. Then you had North Shore Wrestling come out and kind of stand over Jessica Troy as Chevs celebrated with the title. And then you had the Dropouts come out to kind of push off North Shore Wrestling. And that led to everybody coming out, because obviously the next big show is a Rumble. So you've got to have the all-in brawl where everyone fights. And the kind of the visual that they had was this all-in brawl where Chevs just put the title over her shoulder and started walking to the back, kind of as like the above it all, like, owner of the world that's falling into chaos, which I really liked. When she got to the stage, you had Kai Drake face off with her on the stage, which obviously is addressing the fact that Kai Drake is now the challenger for the King of the Metro Rumble. And then through that moment, as the two are facing off, between them runs out Ben Braxton to fly into the melee. So I thought that was, if that's a visual that they're going to carry forward with Ben Braxton constantly being this thing that flies into the title picture when there's this face-off happening, eventually leading to him coming up to that main event spot, I think that was a very clever little foreshadowing of that gave him a big high spot at the end of the show. I do think that there could have been more done to highlight Jess bleeding, laying on the floor, kind of at the feet of North Shore Wrestling. That's the thing that, imagery-wise, I think they did so much good there. That's the thing that was missing for me, was like truly showing the dominance over the former champion who was left bleeding and laying. And I think there could have been a little bit more made of that. But overall, I quite liked the brawl. Nick Galea says the only thing about the brawl, it looked kind of like the few proper main event guys and the rest were just... It looked kind of like there was a few proper main event guys and the rest were just there as filler. I can understand what you're saying, Nick Galea, but that's a Rumble,
Welcome to
right?
Rumbles, Nick.
Alex Fireheart says, I'm mixed on the end of the show. Felt very let's take away from Chev's moment, because she fell into the background pretty easily, but at the same time it works from a reaping what you sow perspective. Yeah, that's definitely a way to look at it, Alex. I'm not sure that's the way that I caught it.
No, I think I
definitely
think Chev's got. I think Chev's got spotlighted okay. I think Kai got spotlighted okay. I just think they sort of like, okay, we've moved on from Jess now.
Yeah, especially when Jess had been booked so strongly.
Yeah, and I know you want to sell the Rumble coming up next, but I kind of would have liked them just to fucking leave Jess in that ring and have Jess have to work her way to the feet, possibly with the help of the Dropouts, and let that crowd give her that ovation for running with that title for as long as she did. But I understand you've got to sell the Rumble. The Rumble's a big thing coming up. You got to really sell, push that forward as your closing shot for the quote unquote PLE. But I just felt like, and I don't know when it went off the air if they did it, but it just felt like she didn't get her flowers for that.
Yeah, I still feel like kind of everything with the Jess reign, because she is so good and everyone knows exactly how good she is, it did feel like they waited to pull the trigger till the perfect time. And it felt like the result of that waiting was just everything happened like a year too late. I still feel like...
Do you think the Jess just goes away now for a while?
She's very prominent on the poster for the Rumble. So, she seems like she's going to be there, and I can't imagine that she wants to not be wrestling, right? So, I'm really not sure. Maddie Huss says they were serving a lot of masters from a booking point of view. Annoyingly, something had to give with all the moments they needed to try sinking in. I definitely agree with that, Matt. But overall,
on the selling the Rumble stuff, they did those couple of on the stage promos with people getting their numbers as well. Todd and I pointed something out. The interviewer that they had running that was apparently from Triple J. They didn't mention that at all in the commentary or on the graphics or anything. It was just a dude that no one knew who it was.
Yeah,
So
like a homeless dude. He looked like a homeless guy.
Commentary did mention that it was Woodhead a couple of times, but it was very as an afterthought rather than. And that's
I was like,
what's his name?
Like, he looks like, and if anyone knows him, he looks like Digital Beard if Digital Beard just gave up.
Sure. I mean,
shout out to Digital Beard. He looks great. That's what I'm saying.
If we want to talk about this show overall, I think that obviously we have had, things that we didn't necessarily love, and that's going to happen on one of these bigger shows. But overall, I think the quality, the match quality especially, of these PWA Black Label shows never disappoints. They put on really top-notch in-ring action, and I think this show showed that off really top to bottom. So other than those few things we had an issue with, but I also know that a lot of people won't have an issue with those things. So it's worth going to YouTube, searching for PWA, watching this show for free on YouTube, right? It's like 2.5 hours. It's a really solid show, and you get a lot of wrestling for zero money, right? Like that, it's a very impressive thing. And I mean, especially, like we said, that Soul of PWA title match was incredible. A lot of the stuff in that main event was absolutely unreal. There was a lot of stuff there. Alex Fireheart says, someone I know who was there said they had a very okay, you got me moment because they reacted the way PWA wanted them to Chevs winning. Didn't legit hate Chevs winning so much as got caught up in the moment. Knowing that person's reaction to stuff, usually they definitely did something right. So that's, something worth knowing, that in the moment, in the crowd, it felt like it connected. Nicolia said, it had what I loved and loathed about PWA. Absolutely amazing in ring, but a lot of it doesn't make me feel any connection. Keanu Review says, at least watch Robbie versus Jimmy Townsend. Last time Jimmy is on a show for he's going to Canada. So exciting for Jimmy and worth, checking out that match. Any other thoughts about that show in particular, boys?
No, definitely go out of your way to check out the Robbie Eagles Jimmy Townsend match. Very, very good match. Jimmy is very, very, very good.
Yeah, really high highs and then just some kind of what moments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, right, is we think a lot about wrestling, so some of those confusing booking decisions for us may not feel that way for a lot of other people, right? Like compared to us who are constantly thinking about what's the next thing, who's the next challenger, where do they go with this? Like just in terms of results, seeing the Backslide Girls win is fun, right? So credit there. And like we've just mentioned, what it's like being in a live crowd can be different, and seeing wrestling live, best thing in the damn world. So if there is wrestling on near you, it is worth checking out. A big thank you to Michael Lee in the Australian Wrestling Community Facebook group, who puts together a list of upcoming shows. And we've got a couple on their way worth mentioning. First off is EPW in Perth has the EPW Brewshed Brawl over in Western Australia. That's on Saturday, April 19th and Sunday, April 20th. And if you're in New South Wales, PWA is going again with wrestling at the Mounties on Saturday, April 19th. So you can check that out. If you're in the Melbourne area, MCW High Stakes 2025 is on the way. Nicolia says, by the way, the actual wrestling of PWA is so effing good. I know that like my dad is going to the Beer Food Footy Festival and PWA is going to be there. And I've said to him, like, he's not a wrestling fan, but I'm like, check it out. Like, you'll get it. PWA do such a good job of just putting on great wrestling consistently. So that's absolutely awesome. Head to mcwtix.com.au, though, for MCW High Stakes 2025. Not sure if there are still tickets available, but if they are, you'll want to get amongst it, because check out this card. Lucas Fantasia versus Lucky O'Leary. MCW Inter-Commonwealth title match. Adam Brooks defending against Ryan Rapid. That should sell your ticket right there. Jarvis continues his quest against the Icons, taking on Robbie Thorpe. The MCW Women's Championship is going to be on the line with Eugenie defending against Aisha with special guest referee Erica Reed. And there is a MCW Tag Team Title #1 Contenders Tournament first round match with Carlo Cannon and Jean Wen, the Midnight 2, coming up against the Physicals, favorites of us here at Making Chicken Salad. So MCW High Stakes 2025 is going to be a riot. MCWTIX.com.au for that. But look, we've been talking for almost an hour now, and we've got a lot more to talk about because it's WrestleMania weekend this weekend, and we're going to make some predictions about what we're going to see on the big night. So if you want to hear more about what is going on around the world of wrestling, make sure you are following Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook at Wrestle Radio Australia. We're Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram, and we're right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. We'll be back to talk about what's going on around the world of wrestling right after this.
Okay, now for you guys watching the stream, we're going to play I did have something queued up, but then I realized when I closed my other laptop, it zeroed it out. So I'm going to have to do it old school style and just do it off YouTube. It is the match that I had with Mitch Ryder against Strong 94 a couple of months ago in Wide Bay. Now, the sound quality is not the best. That's why it hasn't been put up as a proper full show. But I figured you guys might enjoy watching 5 minutes of me getting my ass kicked. Because, who doesn't
Who
really
wouldn't?
enjoy that? Yeah, see the love I get from these friggin' people. Who doesn't love that? So let's see. This is a new computer, so I'm trying to work this out. There we go. What are we doing? Oh, I'll get rid of that because that'll be weird if people are watching that. Watch it through a lens, guys. It's like watching Play School. All right, so we'll be back in about 5 or so minutes, guys. There we go. Thank you, mate.
That Mitch Ryder fella's a bloody good wrestler, and that Todd isn't half bad either. I'll tell you what.
I was very average.
You're not half bad. You're like 3/4 bad. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I really enjoyed watching that. All right, let's. And bloody DJ
good.
says
I'm good for a 48-year-old who hasn't wrestled in a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. Bloody DJ says Strong 94's tag work is impressive. Mitch is always so effortlessly despicable. His face turn at the moment in Pro League is going to be very interesting. I'm really excited to see what comes of it. I'm sure that's going to go real well for you, Todd. We'll see how that works.
How's Todd going to be a face?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And if you haven't heard, it's WrestleMania season. That's right, we're kicking off a huge weekend of WrestleMania 42. My goodness, they fly by, don't they? And we are going to... 41? No. Yes, it is. 41. Wow. They do fly by. I can't even keep track.
You're having a cracker, are you? Last week you didn't know that Charlotte Flair won the Rumble.
Yep, it's I'm on top of stuff, let me tell you. Look, it is going to be such a big weekend that rather than just going through all of the matches on the WrestleMania card, we're going to have a little bit of a predictions game with the three of us who are here. So let's start with NXT. Jamie's just finding out about this. I've got a spreadsheet done up, so I'm going to put down who we're each predicting to see who can come out on top with predictions for WrestleMania weekend. First off, let's kick it off with NXT Stand and Deliver. And we'll go from the bottom of the card up. First off, a women's tag team #1 contendership match that's got Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade versus Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley versus Fallon Henley and JC Jane. Todd, who have you got for this one? It's hard to pick this one.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's just that they all sound like just names. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Remember we played that game a while ago? Was it NXT Wrestler or Bull Rider?
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell the difference between something.
Yeah.
But it'll probably be Perez and Jade.
I've said the same. Roxanne and Cora just feel like the names that could viably wrestle for the Women's Tag Championship. What do you think, Jamie?
Can I ask who are the women's tag champions at the moment?
It's going to be on the line on WrestleMania between Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria.
Okay, then I'm going to go with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson.
Interesting choice. All right, so that's the pre-show match for NXT Stand and Deliver. On the card, we've got the D'Angelo family versus Dark State, and I think that debuting kind of Dark State on a big stage, it's got to be theirs to win. What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, probably. Considering like D'Angelo beat the shit out of him with crowbars last week, I think.
Yep. Jamie?
Kind of.
I will agree because I have no idea who Dark State are.
Fair enough.
They're like Shield meet Mustafa Ali's old group. Retribution.
So they're like
Shield meet them.
We've got NXT Tag Team Championships on the line. Jamie, you're going to love this. It's Fraxium versus Hank and Tank. Who have you got, Todd?
I actually think Hank and Tank might win this because I think Frazier and Fraxium will probably get called up.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad call.
The last couple of weeks they've been building that thing where like Hank and Tank have been talking to other tag teams that have been called up, like other tag teams like Street Profits. Bloody, what are they called? The English Pretty Deadly. Like all these guys that were saying, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And then I think it was like Street Profits are like, just be yourselves. That's all you need to be yourselves. And then they started winning. So it's an easy little story from them to get up.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's Frazier and Axiom are going up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hank and Tank getting those tag titles there, which I think is a good spot for them as well. Here's a big one, the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match. Kalani Jordan, Zarya, Sol Ruka, Izzy Dame, Lola Vice, Thea Hale. Jamie, I just threw a lot of names at you. Want to make a call?
It's probably the only program he knows, to be honest with you.
It is. It's the only one that I know most of.
What a call.
I would say Thea Hale, just because she's just come back from an injury, hasn't she? And I think probably
Yeah.
And kind of the dissolution of Chase U, so needs something coming out of it. Todd?
Look, if you're an Aussie and you're not like calling it for Zarya, there's something wrong with you. So I'm going to say Zarya, but I think Thea Hale is probably a very good shout.
I think it's a good shout too.
Zarya and Sol have like that tag run in them. So,
I'm actually going to pick Sol Ruka, thinking that then Zarya will get jealous and turn on her to lead to a one-on-one program for that title. That's my prediction there. So I'm picking Sol. As for the NXT North American Championship, Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page, I'm picking Saints. I feel like Ethan Page just had a run with the NXT title, probably doesn't need a North American Championship run. What do you think, Jamie?
Hey, look, it's two people I know. Ricky Saints.
And Todd?
Yeah, I think this one's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Coming out of a no-brainer into a slightly more open field, the NXT Women's Championship in a four-way match, Stephanie Vaquer defending against Julia, Jada Parker, and Jordan Grace. Who do you have, Todd?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I think it's too early to take it from.
There's lots of good options.
But, Julia's just come back, and Julia did nothing wrong before having to drop that title. I think she had to drop the title because it was either a niggling injury or she had to go back to Japan to work out something to do with a visa, I believe. So, it's not like she did anything wrong. I'd as a dark horse, I'd love it to be Jada Parker because I just like Jada Parker. Great. I think she's great.
She is really good.
She's everything that's everything that Mercedes Moné is, but she cuts a way better promo. She doesn't talk like she always has chewing gum in her mouth.
Yeah. I think that Jordan Grace really knows how to work a main event women's championship scene. And I think that if you have Julia and Vaquer go off and do a little singles program that doesn't need the title, whereas Grace can elevate some of the women coming up to challenge. So I think they're going to put it on Jordan. Any prediction, Jamie?
I'm with you, Lachlan. I think Jordan to help sort of guide the next wave of people because Stephanie and Julia don't need a belt to have.
Do you reckon they're going to? Yeah, but do you reckon they're just going to have Stephanie and Julia hanging around NXT doing matches that don't involve the title?
Yes, I think they're teaching them how to be on WWE TV. I think that's all it is. And I think they're almost there. I don't think they're going to be in NXT that long, really. So I think that just, having them in high-profile matches is where they're going to want them in the future. So against each other works perfectly. That's the logic I think they'll go with.
Okay. Just a question.
Yeah, I could be wrong. We'll see. Let's talk about the NXT Championship now. Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, triple threat. I don't see Femi losing this title unless he's going up, and I don't think right now is the time for Femi to go up. So I think they keep this one on him. Todd?
I think Javon Evans wins this match, and they reveal that he is the leader of Dark State.
Interesting. Jamie?
I was going to pick Javon Evans because I've just seen bits and pieces of him, and I think they're probably ready to pull the trigger on him, and then they can just rerun Obafemi against him for a little bit of trying to get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to night one of the big show, though, because we've just predicted the NXT matches.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do? Have you not written SmackDown down?
I have not. So let's talk quickly about what is on the SmackDown Friday, which is part of the WrestleMania weekend. It's got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's got John Cena appearing. There's going to be a WWE Tag Team Championship match with the Street Profits defending against Motor City Machine Guns. And there's also going to be Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, and Alba Fire versus Zelina Vega, Katana Chance, and Caden Carter. Do we want to make predictions for that, or are we just predicting the PLE portion of the shows?
Probably just PLE. Oh, they've been juggling it back and forth. Guns lost the title to DIY, and DIY lost the title to Street Profits. It looked like
it's been all over the place.
Yeah, it looked like originally that one of the WrestleMania matches were going to lead to being Street Profits v Motor City Machine Guns v DIY v Pretty Deadly in like a 4-team ladder match. That's what it felt like it was going to. The way it all got let out, especially with like Nick Aldis talking about, like he did that whole promo when he linked everybody together and it's like, this is the thing. I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. You got this whole thing where there's a reason why everyone's here. They can do that thing for the tag titles. And then it just sort of, it feels like they're still doing it. They haven't got to where it's supposed to be and it's already WrestleMania.
Yep. And Alex Fireheart says, why in the hell are the tag titles defended on SmackDown instead of Mania proper? Look, I know that WWE have scheduled over the 2 nights 18 hours of WrestleMania if you include pre-show and post-show. So they clearly feel like the Mania card's pretty full. And looking at the amount of matches on each, there are 6 on night 2 and 7 on night 1. They're reasonably full cards for WWE.
I think night 2 there'll be another match added because Orton hasn't been named yet.
Correct. So I'll just pop that in, Orton ? And we can predict what that might be. So let's talk about Mania Night 1. So first of all, Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. Jamie, who are you picking here?
El Grande Americano.
Fantastic. I can't get over how funny that name is. It's just the best name for an American pretending to be a luchador. I can't get over it. I'm also picking El Grande Americano. If they don't give him the win here, it's insane.
They're gonna give him the win here to lead up to a mask versus mask match.
Yeah.
But I got sent something today, which is I might be breaking a news here, but like this is who El Grande Americano is.
Oh goodness, yeah, that. For the listeners on the podcast, you don't need to know what Todd just showed us. Naomi versus Jade, 1-on-1. Todd, who do you have?
I think it has to be Jade.
I think it's got to be Jade, right?
Yeah. Unless they're doing something, bring someone else in and like to help Naomi, but it has to be Jade.
Yeah, Jamie, you agree?
Yeah, I would be shocked if it's not Jade.
Yeah, I'll address Bloody DJ in the chat. Says rumors are that the Hardys are going to challenge for the titles against Street Profits, and the win on SmackDown sets that up, sort of. I hope that's not happening. Like, they're so old to be on WrestleMania. They already did that out of nowhere. Hardys on WrestleMania years ago. Anyway.
Yeah.
There is a set of tag team titles on Mania Night 1, and it's the World Tag Team titles with the War Raiders defending against the New Day. I feel like this heel New Day needs, a big win. So I'm predicting New Day. Jamie?
We'll say the New Day as well.
And Todd?
New Day?
Yeah, I really like the heel stuff that the New Day is doing right now. And the US title also going to be on the line. LA Knight defending against Jacob Fatu. Todd, who do you have?
I want it to be Jacob Fatu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just because
Jamie?
LA Knight is very bleh at the moment.
Yeah,
I think they overcooked him and
we're all on the same page there. I think regardless of what you think about LA Knight, I know we've had some controversy on the podcast in terms of LA Knight's reception, but either way, he is not at the top of his heat right now, and Fatu is just doing incredible stuff. So it's got to be him, I think. All right.
Well, Fatu's like SmackDown's version of Bron Breakker, so you should go with him.
Yep, I agree. WWE Women's Title: Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. Todd, who do you have?
I want Tiffy to retain.
Yeah, I think if Tiffany doesn't retain here, it's kind of crazy. Jamie?
It's got to be Tiffy time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're gonna
I
get
can't
booed
imagine that we're going to have
wins,
Charlotte coming back for full time. So
yeah, you're gonna get boos if Charlotte wins, but I don't think it's the boos you want.
No,
it's
exactly.
Boos.
And Alex Fireheart says in chat, "Christ Almighty, please don't be Charlotte." Andy at Bob Back in the Fridge is not enjoying this lineup either. 2 matches to go. The World Heavyweight Championship match: Gunther versus Jey Uso. I'm going to pick Gunther for this one. I know that Jey is like the winner of the Rumble and he's got a lot of positive behind him and it feels like he keeps coming up short, and it feels like the storyline's going for Jey finally getting one over Gunther, but I want to see Gunther hold that title. I want to see Gunther hold that title. He's a great bad guy. He can hold it for several years. I'm fine with that. Todd, what do you think?
I don't want him to lose. I don't want Jey to lose. I just don't. I want him to get his moment. Like, it's been so long. Like, we thought the IC thing was going to be it, and it really wasn't. But I think, like, just the way that they changed him up in the last couple of weeks to be dead serious now.
Yep.
Which I really enjoyed. Like, he didn't, even though the crowd was doing the whole yeet thing, he did not do it going down to the ring. You notice that? He was in the black. He was very serious. And it's the first time I've seen some real anger and heat out of Gunther in promos. So I think like Jey could win this and just have Gunther on a fucking rampage trying to get it back off him.
Full Godzilla Gunther. I like it. Jamie?
I want Gunther to win. It's not out of the realm of WWE waiting to pull the trigger on Jey Uso, leaving it a little bit longer.
So making the call for Gunther as well. Interesting. I thought I was going to be alone on that one. And now we can talk about the main event of night one. No title on the line except for the love of a rotund man. Paul Heyman going to be managing someone here. Reigns versus Punk versus Rollins. Todd, who have you got?
It's very much a pick 'em, isn't it? Very much a pick 'em. Like, is Heyman going to like go with Seth out of nowhere? Because Seth has put a very strong case forward over the last couple of shows that would lead Paul to saying, I couldn't choose between the two of them, so I chose Seth.
Is that your prediction?
I'd like it to be, honestly, because look, Punk doesn't need the win. Roman doesn't need the win. Seth could kind of go with the win, and it'd be great.
Yeah. Jamie, who have you got?
Because also Seth gets to say, you finally got your WrestleMania main event, and I beat you.
Yeah, that's true.
And I took your best friend. I beat you, and I took your best friend. And I took your wise man.
I think I'm going to say Punk. I think he gets the live living in color entrance. First WrestleMania main event that he's been wanting forever, and they finally just get just win. And he's like that. I guess he's that mainstream name that seemingly everybody knows CM Punk. So.
I think what I'm thinking about is at the end of the night who you have standing tall, and the one that works for me is Punk. So I've got to make that my prediction. Matty Huss in the chat says, I still can't shake the possibility of Brock returning and throwing the whole Heyman dynamic into a spin. God, I hope not. I can't see it happening, and I so hope not. Like, just, the optics are not good. All right, so that's Mania Night 1, right? There's a whole nother night of Mania. So we're going to start with an open prediction here. What happens with Orton? Todd, I'll send it to you first.
I'm feeling they might pull the Aleister Black trigger.
Yep.
If they're not gonna do something on SmackDown, which like leads Nick Aldis into having a match with him, I can see them doing Aleister Black.
Yeah, definitely possible.
That would be pretty cool. Seeing the Aleister Black entrance at WrestleMania, like the open challenge with fucking thing. But then also I could see something where, say on SmackDown, Randy comes and like attacks Mickie James in the back.
Yeah.
You didn't give me your answer, and I told you, don't make Mickie James regret this.
And she's in Vegas.
Well, of course she is. She's part of like LFG.
Oh yeah.
Well, she was. She was part of it.
She is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which one are you calling, Todd, for your prediction? Black or Aldis?
Yes.
I'll not accept that, Todd. Make a decision.
Black Aldis.
How's that fence?
Yeah, I know. It's a bit pointy. I would love it to be Aldis, but I just think they think of Aldis at the moment like they did with like Pierce, where we all knew Pierce was a really great wrestler and walked out to have that match with Brock, with Roman, and you knew the match wasn't really going to happen.
Yeah.
I think unless somebody else mysteriously debuts, possibly Aleister Black.
Maybe. All right, I'm going to put down Black as your prediction.
I just don't. I don't know.
Jamie, thoughts?
I hope it's not Solo Sikoa. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah. I think I'll say Aldis, but I wouldn't be shocked if they trot him out there and then as the match is about to start.
Bit of a Swerveski.
Here comes Aleister.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm putting you down as Aldis. I'm going to take a bit of a left field pick, and I'm going to predict Rey Fenix. He's had his debut match, right? Give him a showcase against Orton. Why not? He doesn't need to win, but he'll look great.
Because Orton's a babyface.
Yeah,
I mean, really want Orton booed.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm just
like, you're a crazy man.
Yeah,
it's WWE, right? Like they just sometimes they do things.
When was Jeff Cobb out of contract?
Soon.
Matanza? Is it Matanza? Is that his name, Matanza?
Yeah, yeah. If that's, I tell you what, Orton and Cobb would be a banger. I
imagine if he's not there yet, is he? Naito's still got like 2 weeks.
Naito's still got a couple of weeks.
May 4th or something.
I believe I checked it because I wanted to check if Cobb could be there on the Raw after Mania, and I believe he can, which would make me think that night 2 he would be able to, right? So that's a possibility as well. Ooh, that'd be juicy.
But I want him as that gimmick.
As Matanza.
Don't they have the underground stuff?
It's hard to tell how much of that story was true. Like, it seems like maybe they were looking into having the rights to stream the stuff from the show, or maybe they were looking into character rights, or we don't really know. But it seems like there is less of a full purchase than it sounded like.
Maybe they were looking at it for
it would be
Lucha Bros stuff.
Yeah,
so
it would be cool.
That footage to be like, look, these guys have been together for years.
It's funny because Jeff only mentioned him the other day too.
Yeah, that's true.
On his X.
All right, let's talk about the Mania Night 2 matches. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that they think Logan Paul having momentum is more important than AJ Styles getting a win at this point in his career. I'm calling Logan Paul. Jamie?
Can we just not have Logan Paul? AJ Styles, please. Please, please, please.
I'll put down that you've said Styles, please. And Todd, who do you think?
I think it's probably Logan Paul. And I must I watched his vlog the other day. I don't know if you saw it or not, Jamie, when they went to England to do the Raw in England. Actually, really funny. If you get a chance, and I don't really like promoting him, but if you ever want to see, I think his name. Do you know Stu, the guy that does the roaming camera sort of thing for WWE?
Yep.
He's the one that Cena always talks to when he comes out. We're going to work, Stu. That sort of thing. Him and Logan Paul have he absolutely roasts Logan. Like Logan comes up to say hi to him, and he just roasts the shit out of him. I probably get more people here than you got in New York. Logan's like, we weren't allowed to advertise. Like, oh, okay, I'm sure I believe you. No, it was really good. Like the half of that show when he was in WWE were just the wrestlers taking the piss out of him backstage. Like I think Liv and what's her name, Raquel, were giving him shit about Prime, and Liv was just like, I just like Red Bull better. He's like, stop saying that.
Awesome. Let's go into the Sin City street fight that's going to be held between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Who have you got, Todd?
It's one of those ones where you don't want either of them to lose, because you think they've both got quite a okay, if Drew loses this, and when was the last time he actually won anything substantial? And kind of the same thing for Damian. Like since he lost the world title, what really has he done? So it's a very up in the air thing. I think Priest, because Priest, I think, has got more years ahead of him than what Drew has.
I also think Priest loses less, right? I think Drew has a lot of momentum that he kind of can't lose from, having had quite a good world title run that he beat Lesnar for. So I'm also picking Priest. Jamie?
I will go counter and go Drew.
Sounds like a plan. And then we've got the WWE Women's Tag Team titles on the line. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. I can't imagine Lyra being a double champ here, so I've got to go Liv and Raquel. Jamie?
Agreed. Liv and Raquel.
And Todd?
I hate the fact that they're even in the match. Bayley and Lyra. Why couldn't you have Bayley challenge like Chelsea, and then Lyra defend against somebody else?
Yep, absolutely true.
Then you could have had Liv Morgan. Liv and Raquel would have been great against Caden and
Katana.
No, are they the two I'm thinking of?
Katana Chance and Caden Carter?
Yeah, I think they're the two, Katie Catanara or whatever her name was. Yeah, those two. Because in that gauntlet, they were the only two who looked like a tag team.
Yeah.
Although,
not just two people thrown together.
No, I really did like the idea of what was the team that got put together? And I was like, I don't hate this idea. BFAB and who was it? Somebody in the chat, if they can, remind me who BFAB tagged with.
Yeah, because I did not actually watch that gauntlet. So if anyone in chat,
go ahead and I will. It's got to be Liv and Raquel. But
Alex Fireheart says if Rhea and Liv wasn't over and done with, I would have had Rhea find someone to challenge Liv and Raquel with. Oh yeah, BFAB and Meechin sound like an interesting.
It was a really cool tag. They came out. I'm like, I want these guys to win. They just look cool together.
And then we have a match where, incredibly, for a 4-way title match, it feels like there are no bad choices for winner here. Bron Breakker, Penta, Dom Mysterio, Finn Balor. It's rare that you've got a 4-way where all 4 feel like good, viable choices to win. Todd, who do you have as the IC champ coming out of this one?
I really want it to be Dom. I know that's probably not the popular pick, but I really want it to be Dom.
I so want it to be Dom. That's also my pick. Jamie?
I will say Finn. I'm a massive Finn Balor fan.
I love a bit of Finn. It's if Dom wasn't one of the... And, I'm well known as a Penta mark. It's really hard to go against Penta. But just the idea of Dom with that title. Matty Huss says it's criminal that Chelsea doesn't have a match on the Mania card. Couldn't agree more. Wouldn't surprise me if she came out and did something, right?
Yeah.
Bloody DJ predicts Penta has to win. Dom's time will come. Penta just got there. I think Penta's got plenty of time in the tank. Let's then go to what I think is my most anticipated match of the whole weekend. Triple threat for the WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley. I'm going to go to Todd first because I think I can pick his answer.
I actually think Io Sky.
Call him the EO. Yeah? That surprises me, Todd.
I think Bianca and Rhea will kind of ignore it to the point where that's how she gets her win. They'll be so focused on each other that she'll be able to get the win because of that.
Interesting. Jamie?
Because then that spins off, but then that spins Bianca and Rhea off into something on their own, which doesn't involve the title, and EO can do some shit there.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably better for what they can do with the women's division.
And Bianca Rhea can headline a pay-per-view without a title. Like, it's that kind 100%. Of match. Right? Jamie?
I'm the same. I think EO, because, those other two don't need another title reign.
It's going to sound insane for none of us to be picking Rhea. I'm picking Bianca. And I know that you all think I'm crazy, but I think they like the idea that Bianca doesn't lose at WrestleMania. I think they're going to keep that going. She's got a WrestleMania undefeated streak. I think they are going to, just put a little more into it. I think it's not a bad idea. And then the big one, the main event of main events, Cody Rhodes, John Cena, undisputed WWE Championship. Todd. Do you think...
I kind of think it is. There's going to be so much fuckery going on in that match, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be worse than CHEVS, Jess.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be so much fuckery going on with...
So are you calling a 17th world title reign for Cena?
Yeah. But then he'll lose it back to Cody at maybe SummerSlam or something like that.
Jamie, you agreeing?
Yeah, I'm John Cena all the way.
I'm going to break it and I'm going to say Cody. I think that they want the big, happy, smiley, end of WrestleMania, and then they can pull some fuckery on the Raw. I'm going to go Cody for the big main. I think that's the way. Now,
you know what? If this was Vince's I'd kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
But this new one, they seem to want to leave cliffhangers in places. And if people are going to be happy with certain other things, okay, that'll make up for this.
And I can see them doing like John wins, and then just to play into the craziness of what can happen on Raw after Mania, they have Joe Hendry come out and have like a little bit of a confrontation with Cena.
Bloody DJ agrees that Cena will win. Alex Fireheart says, my main prediction is the match will go almost an hour somehow. Maddie Huss says, my pick is Travis Scott after The Rock returns and inserts him into the match. So lots of fun predictions going on. I saw a really interesting prediction today that I kind of added a bit of my own thoughts into, and I thought it could turn out to be pretty wild. And that was that The Rock has another person's soul currently working for him that he's already recruited to be a corporate champion, and that person is Jey Uso. Now, I think that is a pretty wild prediction to make. The idea there that they also added, if Cena had already committed to The Rock by the Royal Rumble, then he could have purposely been not trying his very hardest to win the Rumble in order to let Jey win and get a challenge for a title, because The Rock knew that if he couldn't turn Cody, he had Cena. The bit that has still been getting to me is it seems like WWE are really committed to these like deep long-term stories right now. And there's a moment that's just so inhuman that I can't get it out of my head that feels like I think it's got to be intentional. And it was when The Rock did the throat slit action for Cena. He did it with 2 fingers, which I just felt was so strange. And it wasn't even like 2 fingers together. It was 2 fingers like it was the number 2. So there's something shouting to me that The Rock did that for a reason, and it's that Cena was the second person that he had to turn. that's far-fetched theory, but worth throwing out there as, something wild that could happen over the course of this WrestleMania. Do either of you gentlemen want to make a wild prediction of something that could happen over the course of Mania?
Well, the reason I don't think that would happen is because, like, Jay is Raw. That's SmackDown. Like, you're moving, and not only that, he's the highest merch seller at the moment, or one of the highest merch sellers, incredibly over as babyface. And I get it. Like, there are times like maybe you're turning people sometimes when they're incredibly over. I don't know if you turn them when they're as over as what Jay is at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, Cena was over and they loved you, but this was something fresh and new that he could do. Whereas, like, Jay, I just don't see them doing, especially if he loses the night before.
Yeah.
Because I see Seth Rollins before I see, because Seth's got a history of selling out when he has to. I did it for the best bit of the company. I didn't do it and he couldn't beat Cody 3 times.
Yep.
And not only that, somebody put a photo up about, like, he'd been wearing stuff that looked eerily similar to The Rock in different places. Like, he wore the skiffy with the chain on once.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of things that they put up that was like, it's been hiding in plain sight the whole time, guys.
Matty Huss
saying on night 1 and then being inserted on night 2.
Yeah, Matty Huss says Punk loses night 1, sells his soul to The Rock so he can have his moment standing tall at the end of Mania on night 2.
Again, the guys like I can see Seth jumping from another show. I can't see Punk doing it because that's a very strong SmackDown roster and not so strong on the Raw now with Punk gone.
Yeah, very true.
Do you know what I mean?
Any other thoughts on this Mania card before we move on? We're going to have a lot to dissect next show after Mania.
Yeah.
The build hasn't been great.
It's been up and down.
I was thinking about this the other day, right? And, like, when we were young, like, the build-up was amazing. We couldn't wait and blah, blah, blah. We're also younger.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like...
I did tell a friend that, like, doesn't follow religiously that Cena is in the main event of WrestleMania. They're like, oh, I'm watching.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
I thought about it. I don't know if it's that I'm getting older or the fact also that there are so many shows now leading up to it that it sort of dilutes everything. Like, you can't do that traditional build-up like they used to with like Raw. Like, the Go Home Raw was the one you had to watch going into WrestleMania. But now it's like, well, you got the Go Home Raw, but then tomorrow night's NXT, and then Saturday, right before the actual show, or Friday, sorry, for Americans, is SmackDown. So technically, SmackDown's the Go Home show. So it's just, I think there's so much content now that makes it hard to build anticipation when there's not that space of time between different shows.
Yeah.
Whereas if they did something like Raw is the go home show, SmackDown's going to be like a highlight show, just packaging what you're going to see on WrestleMania weekend. Might have been a bit different, but it's just because there's so many shows now. I don't think they have the ability to build anticipation, because you have to have them there. You have to have them interacting. So you're seeing them interact. The best thing that they've done with Cena and Rhodes, I think, is haven't really had them touch very much at all. So we haven't already seen the show. Like, if this was like 4 years ago, you would have seen Rhodes in a tag team match with somebody against Cena and somebody. And then you would have seen that like 6 times going into it, because that's just what they did. And now, like, they're not going to touch it all going into it. Same thing with really, like, Gunther and Jay. Like, Gunther's been attacking people and Jay couldn't get to him. Or if they did, it was very brief and then Gunther had run. Or, like, you know what I mean? They're holding that anticipation. That bit I like. I love that sort of stuff. The stuff that they did with Jimmy was friggin' awesome.
Like, it blew me away. I went back and watched the Rock Austin My Way promo going into Mania 17. And, like, I know that they'd had the big match, the Mania before, but it's incredible how much in the lead up to that match you watch in that clip them just beating the tar out of each other on Raw, right? They were like just constantly brawling, whereas these guys have not laid a finger on each other yet. Like it is going to have
they were constantly brawling, but it was never a match.
Yeah.
It was always like, I just had to get to this guy. And fuck, I don't care if there's security there, I'm going to go through him.
Let's quickly talk about some AEW news.
In the chat as well. I wonder if we get the Thugonomics John Cena as well, because they've just put up a whole bunch of merch that was like baseball, basketball, football jerseys that were John Cena inspired. So I'm hoping we get.
I don't think so. I don't think so because remember he said that in his promo. You don't get that. You don't deserve the change. You don't get what you want.
Okay.
This is me now. Like you don't get what you want. You get what I am. That was a bit I loved about the promo because everyone was expecting new music, new tights
and everything. Like prototype Cena.
Let's quickly run through some AEW news because other wrestling companies do exist, but we'll kind of blitz through some of this. So first off, in the tournament, we're going to have Ospreay versus either Hangman Page or Kyle Fletcher, as well as Monet versus either Statlander or Hayter. We've had a debut on Dynamite with Josh Alexander as the wild card, losing to Adam Page, which as big Josh Alexander fans here, him getting the loss as the wild card, bit of a bummer, but that is what it is. It's AEW.
Do you know the thing is though too? How many times did we hear when that happened in WWE, like somebody debuted and they lose, you would see like the media, like the crowd would just go, oh, why would they do that in WWE? I haven't heard a peep out of it this time. Like, I don't understand why. Why is it different now? Is it the letters?
I guess they did give him like the heel turn afterwards. So
They
gave
did.
him like the face entrance, and then they're like, okay, now you're going to turn heel and join the Callis family.
Yeah. We have new World Trios champions as the Ops in the form of Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata, and Powerhouse Hobbs defeated the Death Riders in the form of Moxley, Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta in the main event of Spring Break in Boston. Nice to see a change. Interesting that both teams had substitutions made because Hook was out, so Powerhouse Hobbs was in, and Pac was out, so Moxley was in.
It's funny that you remember how Bullet Club Gold got stripped of their trios titles?
Mm-hmm.
How was it?
It was because they couldn't have the three people.
Oh, so they had to use a substitute, and you couldn't use a substitute, even though they had someone to substitute.
Yep.
Oh, it's funny that. Anyway, carry on.
Interesting. Dave Meltzer reported in the new issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and look, we have found out not to always trust Wrestling Observer, but when it's good news like this, it's hard to resist. Reported that Chris Jericho felt now was the right time for a break. A timeline of his return is not yet known, with it likely to be kept as a surprise until he does come back. I'm happy for him to take as long of a break as he needs. Good for him.
Time for a break was 6 months ago.
We'll just touch on this one quickly because again, due process here. Ryan Nemath's lawsuit against AEW is moving to arbitration. According to Post Wrestling, Nemeth submitted filings on Friday and Monday to voluntarily dismiss his lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court. AEW on Monday also dismissed its petition to take the suit into arbitration in the U.S. District Court of Florida. So that is the state of those things. And then it was reported that Mariah May...
that'll be the last time we hear about that now.
Yeah.
That's done now. Once it goes like that, you don't hear anything more. There's NDAs and everything to get signed.
Yeah. It was reported that Mariah May was believed to be in her contract year with AEW, and the former AEW Women's World Champion has been off TV completely since March's Revolution when she lost in her trilogy bout with reigning title holder Toni Storm. After she posted an Instagram story with a plain window this weekend with a quote saying, "You can't make the wrong decision because every decision leads you to where you're supposed to be." Speculation increased as to what that meant. Meltzer said from talking to people in WWE, quote, "They know she wants to go there," and that the belief is the 26-year-old's contract is up this summer. Alvarez said he was under the impression that she initially signed a 2-year deal with AEW and that even within AEW, they feel she's going to WWE. Feels like Mariah May would fit WWE.
She's a massive WWE fan from back in the day as well.
Do Do you know what's like? I think I talked about this a couple of years ago when all these things sort of started, and I was like, do you think it's a strategy for WWE to let, well, not so much let, because you can't really let someone who's gonna like go, but just let these bigger talents go, like your Christians, your Copelands, your Jerichos, your like Moxley, Mercedes, because then they'll just grab the younger talent from underneath there that they've got coming up that aren't going to get that chance because those guys are on those cards. And because it seems to be that that's the way, like, I know Pillman's not really the case, but definitely with Ricky Saints, like definitely I think with Jade decided that she was going to go that. I think there's other people. I think they would have had to offer a lot of money for Daniel Garcia to stay. And he did. Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if it's a strategy or if it's just like they just go, well, this is happening. We're just going to take the younger guys that they feel aren't getting a push, and we're going to put them in NXT for a while, and then when they're ready, we'll bring up to the main roster, and they can do what they can do. Like it seems that that's what it is.
And like her posting that cryptic quote on Instagram too, like that's just smart business for her on her behalf. Of let's put it out there and boost these numbers no matter which way I end up going.
Why wouldn't you? Because like who knows? Like Tony reads that, maybe he puts a couple extra zeros on the contract.
Yep,
this could just be a great ploy from her to go, yeah, I really feel like I want to go to WWE, and have him go, well, how about this much money? It was the kind of thing that came up this week with Stephanie Vakur.
Yep.
When like she was in an interview this week, and she detailed the actual negotiations with WWE, and AEW offered her more money. And then when she went to WWE and said, this is what AEW offered me. And WWE said, well, we can't match that. So best of luck with AEW. And when you're finished up, if you want to come, doors always open. And then I think it was like a heart-to-heart match, like talk with Sean. Had her go, no, I think I should go to WWE. And then people were like, oh, like Sean talked her out of blah, 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 blah. Like WWE just trying to lowball us. And no, WWE have a budget. And if you don't like, they were smart to go, look, because it's not like they said, well, we don't think you should go there. We still think you should sign with us for less money. They're like, look, go to AEW because we can't match that. We'd love to have you, but we can't match that money. I don't see what the problem with that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on and talk about a couple of people leaving NJPW. As we addressed earlier, Jeff Cobb leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is one half of the IWGP Tag Team Champions with Callum Newman, so those titles have been vacated. Cobb's final match will be April 19th at Karakuan Hall, where he's going to face Tanahashi in a singles match. Notably, Newman was seen with both belts and backstage mentioned comments made by Cobb about wanting to face IWGP World Champion Hiroki Goto, saying now he's the one issuing the challenge to the champion. The duo had only held the title for 9 days. They beat Naito and Takahashi at Sakura Genesis. Additionally, Wednesday morning, New Japan announced they were unable to come to terms with Naito on a contract extension. He'll continue to make appearances through May 4th, when the Wrestling Dontaku tour ends in Fukuoka. They additionally announced that another LIDJ star, Bushi, would be finishing up with the company on May 4th. He's been part of the promotion since 2012. And confirmed by Alex Firehart there, Newman is challenging at Wrestling Dontaku now. So
can I throw a massive, like, I don't know about conspiracy theory, but a massive theory out there, and there's probably no basis in it, and I've no insider knowledge. I want to put that straight away. This week, there was a reel or something of The Rock wearing a New Japan T-shirt and drinking Terramana, blah, blah, blah.
There was.
I find it very interesting lately that New Japan either hasn't been able to keep their talent because of money, or when they do keep their talent, it's because they've been like signed like multi-contracts. Like
multi-contracts, yeah.
Yeah. Like I think Kevin Knight is signed to both AEW and New Japan. Same as Takeshita signed to 3. He's like DDT.
Yep.
Do you think it's beyond the realm of possibility that TKO buy New Japan Pro Wrestling?
I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. I think it's pretty unlikely.
They would probably come up against a antitrust lawsuit in the US if they tried that.
How's that? How would they in the, because it's not a US company, it's an international company. They'd be running in Japan.
But Microsoft faced the same thing when they tried to buy Activision, which is a Canadian company. Because it's all in the one industry. If you try and buy multiple companies of one industry and become a monopoly, they might face some issues. And then that brings
but it was okay to buy Ring of Honor?
Yeah, no.
The other thing is that the ownership of New Japan is with Bushiroad, who benefit from having ownership of New Japan in ways other than just having the wrestlers, because just having the like wrestling operation, because they are a trading card company, like first and foremost, they actually are like all the New Japan trading cards are made by the parent company. Like they don't have to do a lot of interesting deals with that. It makes life very easy for them. And they also do a lot of like media integration stuff that they can do easily through Bushiroad. So I have to imagine that buying New Japan Pro Wrestling might be a bit of a harder prospect than, you know, buying a Ring of Honor, where Ring of Honor was a wrestling company owned by whoever. You've got a parent company that kind of gets a lot of outside benefit from ownership.
Ring of Honor were owned by Sinclair, and they aren't just a nobody company. They're a media company.
Yeah, but like Sinclair wasn't integrating Ring of Honor into their other brands the way Bushiroad are.
I just find it very...
They kind of just wanted that gone, I think, as well.
Yeah.
There's too much money
left. I think it's just... I don't think Rock does these things for no reason.
Oh, no, especially when he was wearing the shirt staring at a Rubik's Cube, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you don't post that just because.
There's got to be something behind it. Whether it's a partnership, like an actual like monetary partnership, like they buy a stake in it. Like they don't have to like take it over. They can say, hey, we're buying 30% of New Japan Pro Wrestling because they need a cash injection. TKO divesting an interest in it.
Do you think they would be able to buy New Japan without also buying Stardom? Do you think they would also want to buy Stardom?
100% they'd want to buy Stardom.
Does that clash with the kind of working arrangement they have with the previous owner of Stardom, who was pushed out of Stardom?
No, because they would probably bring him in and bring him back to run it with. They just combine the things again.
Like so,
he would very much have like a Vince McMahon return, the way Vince edged muscled his way back into WWE. This would be like him muscling his way back into Stardom.
Yeah. So, look, it's an interesting question.
I wonder if the whole shirt thing was them like they got Tanahashi, not Tanahashi, Naito.
Naito,
and that was him being like, "Oh, we got a guy."
Could even just be Cobb. You know, the fact that they got a New Japan champion.
Well, they got all of them. Cobb, Bushi, and fucking Naito.
Possible.
Hey, I just made I made a lot. I just bought a lot of Japanese guys.
But like, it's wild that Bushi is basically the same age as Naito as well, right? Like the fact that he's got that mask really hides that they are both in their 40s and have been working a very rough and tumble style.
But then they'll just come and get the Shin deal. Because I think Shin's going, isn't he? Or Shin's up or something like that.
It sounds like Shin is maybe not sticking around. I think he got exactly what he wanted out of the deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he wanted to hang out and surf. So, you know.
Yeah. Same thing with Okada now in AEW. It's the same kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Look, this is all well and good, but I think it's time to talk about what the show is named for, and that's making some chicken salad. Just before we do, I've got a message from Jeff Setti, Wrestle Radio Australia host. Jeff says that he's going to be away for 2 more weeks, but a sincere thank you for everyone that came along and enjoyed the show of WrestleBrania. It's been the most successful Brania season that they've had in a long time, and the feedback has been astounding. Please remember to follow Brania on Instagram and Facebook as they're coming back to the Burgee Band Room very soon, thanks to all the wrestlers and comedians that came out to have some fun, and he'll be back in May. We're going to kick off with chicken shit, and I'll kick off with Jeff's, which is the fact that Chelsea Green and the Secret Hervis aren't somewhere in the Mania card. It is really sad. She's been an MVP of everything they've asked her to do. Jamie, do you have a different chicken salad? Chicken shit, I should say.
Chicken shit.
Chicken shit, I would say it is New Japan just making stupid decisions and putting those titles on Cobb, knowing that he wasn't under contract and could very well leave anytime he wanted to.
A lot of them apparently are on handshake deals at the moment. That's why I say it's very suspect. A lot of guys are on handshake deals or on deals with multiple companies. Very suspect, I think.
It's super weird. Like, I just would not have been like,
it feels right for a takeover. And could you imagine, just quietly, just to going back to it, could you imagine if WWE bought New Japan right before Forbidden Door?
Oh. That would throw the spanner in the works.
Forbidden Door being like AEW versus CMLL.
In England.
Look.
In England.
Oh, man. Todd, chicken shit.
My chicken shit is, it's AEW related because I think it's warranted to be AEW, like that. This is what it is. They have spent, what is it? What are those things? It's like 30 months not pinning Athena.
This was mine.
2.5 years. And not only does she get pinned by Mercedes Moné, she gets pinned Mercedes Moné. And it was a really good match. Don't get me wrong. The match was really, really good. It opened the fucking show. You couldn't even build it to be. It opened on a fucking Wednesday. You couldn't even build that to be the main event of the show. That, to me, that's the main event of any. That's the main event of a pay-per-view if you wanted to do it,
especially in Boston.
And you put it on as the opening part of your show. I don't get, like, I hate to break this to Tony, and like Tony must know because he's not dumb. You've already made your money from TV. You're getting that money from the contract. You make your money on pay-per-views as well, more so, because people haven't bought them yet. So you build that to a pay-per-view. I don't know why you don't put those two on opposite sides of that fucking tournament and have them face off in the main event of, or the semi-main event of, like, Double or Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, it is just throwing, like, I say, on a fucking Wednesday, you put those two first-time match up in the ring. I do not get it. That is the height of chicken shit.
Yep, that was absolutely going to be mine. What a fucking waste. Alex Fireheart's chicken shit, also something I wanted to call out. The guy who tried to punch at CHEVS at the PWA show, whether he meant to try to full-on hit her, if it was a mock punch that went a bit far, maybe just don't do that, mate. Be glad you didn't get kicked out. Matty Huss says chicken shit is that guy not getting kicked out at all. Like, just absolutely not on.
Didn't destroy him.
Oh, yeah, because, like, talk about somebody who could have just clattered him. Like, not cool. Not fucking on. Like, really, really. All right, let's be a bit more positive and talk about chicken salad. First from Jeff, the huge numbers at great Brania fun. Really had a great one. Thanks for all who attended. So a big shout out for everyone who went along to WrestleBrania from Jeff. Jamie, do you have a chicken salad for us?
Mine is actually wrestling adjacent. Big Fudge being featured on the SBS show Insight this week. That was awesome.
Yes.
Him, like, getting to see, like, his
I
connection.
can't believe that they let him take his mask off. I can't believe he let them show him with his mask off.
Well, he got unmasked on the shows.
No, that's true. Yeah, I forgot all about that. But
like,
he
that
was, like, very
was
protective.
Yeah.
He's very protective of it. Like, when we did our interview, he was still like, He didn't take that mask off until we stopped recording. Then we stopped. Okay, I can take it off now. And that was after he'd been unmasked as well. But yeah, that to me was shot. I was like, oh, I can't believe that. That's cool. But great to see that side of it. It's funny how many wrestlers are teachers or teacher adjacent.
Yeah, there's lots. Hey, it's really strange. All the way from Grayson Waller to Trent O'Day, you know, plenty of them going around.
Gavin McGavin to
loads of us.
I know there were a couple in a wrestler in called Marvel in Riot City Wrestling back in the day. He was part of the real one, amazing wrestler. He was also like a principal.
There you go.
And his tag team partner was studying to be a teacher. I think he's a teacher now.
That's wild. Hey, my chicken salad is just a little one. It's, you know, I like when people really care about their presentation and their music, right? So we talked about the Jess Troy change in presentation. I think that was fantastic. I'm also going to connect it to Karrion Kross getting the Fall and Pray entrance back, which I think just suits him so much better as a character. Really highlights Scarlett. Love some of that stuff. Matty Huss says his chicken salad, a new fed in Melbourne, is running Black Tie Brawl, a, quote, formal attire matinee for fancy people in one of Melbourne's most bougie inner suburbs. I like a bit of silliness and love seeing some different concepts getting up in a very loaded market. Yeah, that's an interesting one there.
Are they going to enforce the dress code?
I hope they do.
Or is it just going to be a lot of guys walking up in like tuxedo t-shirts?
Andy at Bob Back says Takeshita versus Okada today was outstanding. One of the best TV matches they've ever done. Nick Galea says Chicken Salad was the Mayhem and Renegade shows last weekend. Rapid Fire versus Ambush was the best Aussie match of 2025 so far. Todd, Chicken Salad for you?
My chicken salad again is sorry, it was Ospreay today. Andy just wrote, not Takeshita. Okay. My chicken salad is also AEW related. FTR finally being heels again. So much more comfortable for, and also beating up Tony. Anytime you beat Tony Schiavone up, I'm a happy man. But I
leads to Nigel doing something more than what he did in that segment.
I think it's going to lead. I've got a feeling it's going to lead to maybe Garcia turning heel and him doing something with Nigel.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Alex Fireheart's chicken salad, foregone conclusion as it was. They were very happy to learn Takeshita beat Tanahashi at Windy City Riot. Especially loved the hype vid they made for it. Bring back some old history they have in DDT to hype it up. Look, there is so much great stuff going on in wrestling. Of course, WrestleMania weekend, there is always a load happening. So you've got to be following someone to keep informed. And that someone can be Wrestle Radio Australia. So make sure you're following us at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram, Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook, twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe. It's free. You can do it here on twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. You can do it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. You can hit that follow button. If you do it on Apple Podcasts, if you can give us a rating and review, 5 stars really helps us to get into more ears. And if you want to spread the love for Wrestle Radio Australia even more, you can get some merch. Go to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia, find the merch there. The money doesn't go to us. Those proceeds go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, 2 charities that support men's mental health here in Australia. And if you're looking for more merch, kickout.com.au has merch of your favorite wrestlers, especially from Queensland, but more and more from around the country. If you're a wrestler and you want your merch at Kickout, contact them through their Insta page. That's kickout.com.au to get your merch there. You can also, as we said, follow WrestleBrania. They just wrapped up their Melbourne International Comedy Festival run, but they'll be back at the Burgee Band Room soon. So make sure you're following at Wrestle_Brania or WrestleBrania on Facebook. Jamie, where should we follow you, my friend?
At Jamyaps Media or at Pario Magazine is the best place. We've, like I said, spoke to Scott Green this week, so that'll be coming up in the next issue.
Awesome. And don't forget to follow those Oz Wrestling cards as well, because they are an awesome product and there's some familiar faces going around on those. Todd, anything else we need to mention?
I'm going to throw a curveball to the two of you, because this week the Purge got dropped from Pro Wrestling League. So if you guys want to review that next week, and I will stand here going, I'm sorry, I didn't know about that. Apologize. I didn't know. Actually, I didn't really do much in the show at all. So I was actually on my best behavior. So you
were very well behaved, I will say.
Thank you.
I have seen The Purge, and I think the main event of The Purge might be the best match I have ever seen. Like definitely in person, I don't think there's a match that I've seen that was better than that main event. I recommend it highly. So, I mean, if you hear what it is, obviously it was good. It's Mitch Ryder versus Robbie Eagles.
That makes sense.
No surprise there that they put on an absolute showstopper. And the Purge Rumble had some fun surprises and some good action as well. So big thumbs up for that Purge show. We'll talk about that soon. Just checking, Jamie, is there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I was excited for the PWL announcement this week as well of the Cough Cyber Show.
Yes, absolutely. Chaos in Cough's going down in November. So that'll be really exciting. Much closer to you, Jamie. So we'll be able to see you there, I'm sure.
Much closer.
Not much closer?
No.
Damn, that's a shame. But anyway, look, this has been Making Chicken Salad for Wrestle Radio Australia. Thank you so much for joining us, because we love talking about everything that is going on around the world of wrestling. So on behalf of Jamie Apps and Todd Eastman, I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, enjoy WrestleMania and have a good one.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of